I have two words for you. Mexican wrestling. Also known as lucha libre, it is a type of professional wrestling known for its fighters' colorful masks and acrobatic moves. Why am I telling you this? Because I found the lucha libre metroidvania. This game was developed by Drinkbox Studios, who later released a sequel in 2018 and their latest title, Nobody Saves the World, in 2022. But enough with the background. Let's play the game because I never played Guacamelee. Disclaimer: this video covers the full game. That means heavy spoilers of the gameplay and story. Everything said in this video represents my honest opinion, as this video format is meant to show my true thoughts and experiences while playing this game. We play as Juan Aguacate, a humble farmer, and today is Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead. We are asked by this man to help him at the church, so we destroy some barrels and then we arrive in Pueblucho, where everyone is preparing for the festival. At the church, we can see some respectable design choices. While talking with the priest, the doors open and someone walks in. She is Lupita, El Presidente's daughter and our childhood friend. She asks us to help her carry some chairs, but on the way, an explosion occurs, so we go to investigate. We encounter the game's main antagonist, Carlos Calaca. We fight him and he one-shots us and we die. Or not. We wake up somewhere and we quickly realize that this place is Pueblucho, only that it is destroyed. We meet a woman named Tostada. She tells us that we indeed died, and that this mask chose us, and if we take it, we can get back to the world of the living. The prologue is officially over, and we get to see Juan becoming a luchador. We come back to the world of the living, and we need to save the villagers from Calaca's minions. At the church, we find the priest, and he teaches us some gameplay mechanics. After a few hits, the enemy will become weakened. When the enemy is weakened, we can grab him by pressing Y. When an enemy is grabbed, you have the choice to either throw him or slam him in any direction you want. If you grab the enemy in the air and then you slam him with the arrow facing down, you will perform a famous wrestling move called the pile driver, and it does a lot of damage. The grab mechanic will be the most useful mechanic in the entire game, so make sure you use it. The second mechanic we are taught is the roll, which has iframes. The only thing worth saying here is that the roll builds up your hit counter, so you can use it to build combos. We save the priest and he tells us that we can find the clues about El Presidente and his family in Santa Lucita. Outside, the town is safe now and some quests started to appear. These are optional, but if you want to 100% the game, you have to do them. One of the quests we do here is catching the chickens in someone's house, for which he gives us a heart chunk. These are used to extend your health bar. In the future, you will find stamina chunks and intenso chunks, which extend your stamina and intenso respectively. We will see these later. On the way to Santa Lucita, we find a shop, which sells us abilities which are basically upgrades to your damage, stamina and intenso, and costumes which change the way you play the game. For example, this El Portero costume gives more damage to your throws, but less melee damage. The Alebrije costume deals a ton of damage, but also takes a ton of damage. These are only two examples. There are 14 costumes in the game. We arrive in the forest del Kivo and immediately encounter a jaguar. He is Jaguar Javier. He was once human and a great warrior, but now he serves Calaca. He also tells us that the world is about to end, and we want to attack him, but he destroys the bridge and we fall. A lot. On our way back, we find a big chicken that tells us that we can use roll to go through spikes, and I love this. The game already makes you use fighting mechanics for exploration, and we will see this kind of moments a lot. Another thing we will see a lot are these rooms. They appear a lot during this game, and their role is to set a stage for the player to try and learn their new abilities. I love these rooms so much, but what I love more is how well they work in a metroidvania. If you think about this from a technical perspective, the purpose of these rooms is to change the pace at which the player progresses, without adding irrelevant rooms with filler content. We will see these rooms a lot, and oh boy, they get hard. Next, we find a house, and behind the house there is a statue. We break it and we are introduced to the goat, who is a man. and he wants to fuck my mom. Anyway, he tells us that by breaking these statues, we unlock new abilities, and this time we unlocked the Rooster Uppercut, which also allows us to break those red blocks we saw earlier. Also, the game tells us that the uppercut can also be used as a movement mechanic. Again, using fighting mechanics for exploration. Now, we can get through the red block back at the checkpoint. Immediately after learning the new skill, the game gives us a puzzle that combines the roll with the uppercut to get across this poison lake. And with this, we can expect the complexity of these puzzles to rise based on how many abilities you have. And I love it. Next, the game fills an entire room with enemies for us to get used to the roll. Guacamelee gives you all the chances to learn your abilities early on in the game, because they know what comes later. Finally, we arrive in Santa Lucita, and now we start to see some Easter eggs. This sign, which says Los Super Hermanos, is a reference to Breaking Bad's Los Pollos Hermanos, this shop which has the stone pickaxe from Minecraft, this poster which resembles the characters from Castle Crushers, and probably many more that I missed. We find the gym, and inside we meet our sensei. Jokes aside, this chicken tells you some useful combos you can learn with your current abilities, which means when we unlock something new, we have to come back here to learn new combos. I came back exactly 0 times, but I wish I did because this game has some crazy Mortal Kombat style combos. We also find the giant head. This will serve as a fast travel point. We jump into a portal and we went back to the other dimension, which clears the way that was blocked. This is another common mechanic that we will see in the future. In the temple, we meet this lady that tells us that Lupita is with Kalaka and the flame face guy. Then she runs away and fills the room with his enemies, but look at where they spawn. Perfect for our uppercut. Going forward, we get to this room where Kalaka's pet, Alebrije, sleeps. Another interesting room. These enemies spawn and we can see only their silhouette. That means that they are in the other dimension, so we have to use these portals to change dimensions and then we can hit them. Seems pretty straightforward, right? Wait until we get in this situation. We break another statue and we learn the goat jump. This is your usual wall jump. Another puzzle, another combination of abilities. This time the goat jump and the portals. This one was satisfying to learn. Now, an easy and fun room, using portals to drop these enemies in lava. I already love this game. Next statue gives us Olmec's headbutt, which lets us break the yellow blocks. Now, a room which makes use of the roll, portals, uppercut and headbutt. I told you the complexity will skyrocket. I will not show you each and every room or puzzle, because they are a ton, but keep in mind that all of them are very creative and satisfying to complete, so I leave you to experience them. We meet Tostada, and she tells us that Kalaka made some kind of experiment and just left. We want to return to Santa Lucita, but the Alebrije finds us. This encounter makes use of all the mechanics we learned so far, plus the addition of the Alebrije breaking stuff. This type of boss battle reminds me of the first boss in Super Meat Boy, but there you had to be fast and precise. Here you have to be calm and calculated. We defeat the Alebrije by baiting it on this bridge, which we destroy and watch it die in the lava. Pretty cruel, I must say. Back in Santa Lucita, we find Flameface at the bar, drinking. He tells us some nonsense and then he wants to shoot us, but he is out of bullets. So he tells us to relax in town, because there is nothing of interest going on in the desert. I don't know if he is stupid or he wants to help us. On the way to the desert, the goat guy gives us another power up, El Intenso. This power makes us faster and stronger, and every time we kill an enemy, the duration of the power increases. This reminds me of the old God of War. Santa Monica, please give us a PC port. This game also has a boat level. It's the first challenging fight of the game, and it's also the first time I die. Second time clear and someone throws bombs at us. I don't know what the fuck these developers are smoking, but I want some of it. We arrive in a town and we help their kid's dad put these crabs in their color specific ages. Done with that, we find a man that tells us the story of this town. As it's shown in this picture, a volcano erupted a long time ago and destroyed the town, but the people were saved by a female luchador. so they built this town above the river. We also learned that this female luchador is actually Tostada. Smart way to build a character's backstory. The next ability we get is the Frog Slam, which lets us break the green blocks. We also meet a skeleton, or three. They tell us that they do not want to kill humans, but Calaca promised them that if they create an army of 10,000 skeletons, he will revive their band member Pedro. Seems like this Calaca is pretty strong if he can revive people. They flee, and we have to defeat this luchador skeleton. He has only one attack, but it is unrollable, undodgeable, unfuck. You can't dodge or attack him during this move, you can only jump over him. It seems easy. Imagine if you have more enemies. Need a little help? Here. We arrive in the desert and the first enemy we face is a cactus that shoots bombs. Remember these bombs? These are the same bombs the kid used. I love when games feel like real ecosystems, where things happen because of other things. This kid uses these bombs because the cacti produce them. Anyway, you defeat this enemy by catching the green bombs and throwing them back. Smart use of the grab mechanic from the beginning of the game. We hear someone speaking and we go to investigate and we find Lupita. I lived long enough to know that this is a trap. That lady, which name I will not try to pronounce, trapped us in here and told us to think about our life. And we do it. I don't know if I like this or not. It seems a little bit forced. Anyway, we learned that we had a dream to become a luchador, but someone, I guess our father, disagreed with our dream and even beat us. Then we see that Lupita was watching us since we were little. Not much information, but works as proof of why we were chosen to wear this mask. The woman brings Calaca and he transforms us into a chicken. We can't use our abilities, but at least we can go through these gaps now. As a chicken, we move really fast, so this room isn't as easy as it seems. You might ask me, Tomo, how do you fight as a chicken? Is this good enough for you? After some time, we meet another chicken. He doesn't tell us his name, but says that he can teach us how to transform back. Also, he tells us the location of the woman. Good, now we can change our forms between human and chicken, so let's explore. I found a hole back in Santa Lucita, and in it a QR code. Let's check it. Amazing. We go back to Peblucho to find a woman in the basement of a house. She is angry that Calaca only cares about Lupita now, so she tries to seduce us. I will say yes, but I have to make it clear, I'm only doing this for you guys. Great, now I have to fight her. First real boss fight of the game, let's talk about it. At first, she only uses this attack. You have to get close to her and hit her. This part of the fight makes you understand the importance of combos, because without hitting her multiple times in the little time frame when she falls, it will take a while. Also, sometimes she goes to the middle of the arena and screams. That changes the dimension, and if you are on the ground when that happens, you will get hit by the spikes. At 50% health, she uses this lunge attack. Pretty easy to dodge. Again, combos make the fight shorter. Now, last phase of the fight. At 25% health, she makes a double of herself. They will either use the lunge from earlier, a close range attack, or a scream that spawns a storm which deals damage. If that was not enough, they both have a colored shield. The color of the shield corresponds to one of your abilities, meaning you have to hit them with the ability that breaks that color. The uppercut breaks the red shield, the headbutt breaks the yellow shield, and the frog slam breaks the green shield. Remember, you can use El Intenso to deal more damage, but be careful when you use it, because it regenerates very slow. We defeat her, and after calling us ugly, she tells us Calaca's backstory. Carlos was once called by the people El Charro, as he was one of the best at charreira, a Mexican sport. He wanted to win La Gran Charreada, a prestigious event, but the night before, he broke his arm. Devastated, he formed a pact with the devil to heal his arm. He wins the competition, but he is dragged to the world of the dead before he can claim his trophy. Now, Carlos wanted his revenge. He challenged the devil to a cockfight and tricked him. Now, the devil is a chicken. Yes, the chicken that helped us. Now, his plan is to merge the world of the dead with the world of the living, to make everyone praise him. To stop him, she tells us to go to the top of the Temple of War, and she gives us the power to change dimensions. Now, we can make things appear or disappear. Also, as we change dimensions, we can see some interesting details like this poster of Carlos Calaca before and after the pact with the devil. On our way to stop Calaca, we come across this room. It's a labyrinth that makes use of a dimension swap. You can tell the developers had fun making these game's puzzles, because they are all very creative. In fact, all of these zones levels push the limit of what can be done with the dimension swap and the wall jump. You can tell that this game's selling point is the ability to seamlessly swap dimensions, as it offers more freedom in the process of designing the puzzle. That's why all of this game's puzzles are so fun to play, even those we will see later. We find the next ability, and this one allows us to double jump. And I thought that jump puzzles can get more complex. Now, here is a tricky one. To be honest, I don't know the optimal way to do this. I brute forced my way through, but hey, it worked. Oh, and these enemies started to appear. I call them B-Fat. Fucking annoying, ticking bomb enemies. Fat B for short, and if we rearrange the letters, B-Fat. It even has a secondary meaning. But Tomo, these enemies aren't even that hard to beat. Yeah, wait until they are also in another dimension, and you have to fight 10 more enemies beside these. Now, we found the next statue, and this one gives us... Anyway, we go here, and by going down this way, we can see the whole zone we just went through. Brilliant level design once again. We arrive at the temple, and now we have to do jump puzzles on moving things. Oh, and this guy appears. He has a multi-layered shield. Making our way deeper into the temple, we find Flameface. And he's still drinking. He wants to shoot us again, and he is out of bullets again. So he calls his minions to attack us. Classic antagonist move. This fight is easy, it's just that there are a lot of enemies. After that, we receive the dashing derp derp, which lets us dash through blue box, and soon my patience is being tested by this jumping puzzle. I completed this by sheer luck, but it gave me more stamina, so it was worth it. Finally, at the top of the temple, we see Flameface, Calaca, and Lupita. We intervene, and Calaca transforms us into a chicken again, but we can transform back and we fight Flameface. This fight is interesting. While Flameface doesn't have any tricky moves, the tricky part is the fact that the dimension changes, and he spawns enemies that are in the other dimension as him. This was one of the easier boss fights, but it prepared us for what's to come. After defeating him, Flameface tells us the location of Calaca and on where to go. We also find the next ability, which lets us wall run. And I grow even more worried about the jumping puzzles that are to come. We explore a bit and we get to El Inferno. And by the looks of it, we shouldn't be here yet. We'll come back later. We are introduced to a new type of enemy, the Elite Skeletons. These enemies teleport when attacked, but if you combo them, you can deal some pretty good damage before they teleport. Again, they encourage you to learn combos. We arrive at the volcano we have to climb, and we meet Calaca and those skeletons. Calaca demands his skeleton army to be completed as soon as possible, so the skeletons present to him one of their side projects, Baby Calaca. Then we get to a room that spawns B-Fat, and we have to destroy them while not falling in the lava. Further into the volcano, we find Calaca's secret skeleton farm, factory. Here, we make our way through all the different skeleton enemies we met so far, and we find the last statue, which gives us the goat fly ability. With this, we can fly in a straight line, but we have to start from a wall. Somehow, we end up in this skeleton office, and they are talking to Calaca. Apparently, they delivered the 10,000 skeletons asked, but Calaca doesn't want to honor his end of the deal, so they are pissed and want to fight us. The fight starts pretty simple. We have to get through their multi-layered shield, then at 75% they become invincible. Taking a bit to figure this one out, I remember those cacti we fought, so I throw some skeletons at them, which works. Down at 50%, they enter phase 2, and we have to beat each one of them, while dodging the music attacks, and then at 25% health, they enrage and you have to be very careful because the fight gets really fast. At last, we win, and I start to feel bad. All of the bosses we fought weren't truly evil. The alebrije was just a pet that was sleeping, and we woke him up and then killed him in the lava. That woman only wanted Calaca to love her as much as she loved him. Flameface only wanted to drink. And now, we killed these guys that wanted to sing again with their friend Pedro. I know it's a weird comparison, but Calaca is basically Griffith. He is willing to sacrifice everything and everyone for his stupid dream, which he calls destiny. I am so sick of this, Calaca will go down, now. Okay, maybe not now, I forgot about this guy. This boss fight is the definition of get good. He has colored shields, he has AoE attacks, a very fast dash, he even goes to other dimensions. This fight is hard, and the only way to make it easier is to learn the mechanics and get comfortable with dimension swapping while doing something else. I got pretty comfortable with the mechanics pretty early on, so I won first time. But if you struggle with this fight, I have a little secret tip for you. Go to the abilities shop and buy the El Intenso upgrade that regenerates health. If you use this at the right time, you basically have 2 lives, which makes this very easy. I would like to try a run in this game without any upgrades. Tell me what you think in the comments, should I try it? After defeating him, he tells us that Calaca threatened to kill his master, so he chose to serve Calaca to protect him. Fun fact, he remains there on the ground for the rest of the game. We meet Goat Guy, and he tells us that if we defeat Calaca, he will not touch our mother. Now that's what I call motivation. He also tells us that before facing Calaca, we should power up, but I feel confident and I proceed. We arrive at the Great Temple, and this zone is amazing, it's got everything. Jumping puzzles that use most of our abilities, rooms with enemies from all dimensions with shields, elites. This guy. Even a room where you can throw enemies off the map. I always love these rooms. Then we find the Corridor of Death, and I want to be completely honest with you. I died 5 times here. This zone is insanely punishing if you don't master all of the mechanics of the game. I think I died in the Great Temple twice as much as the rest of the game. Also, I don't know when these guys started to appear, but they are by far the hardest enemy to beat. Even more so if you have other types of enemies spawning at the same time. I would also like to tell you that this room exists. No more comments. We find Lupita and we can finally have our rematch. Think of this fight as the fight with the Jaguar, but on steroids. Calaca has only 2 moves, a close range slash and an AoE landing, but he can switch dimensions and the color of his shield between each attack. He also does a ton of damage. After some time I found out that you can roll through his slash attack and you can jump over his AoE attack. And now the fight is simple, but we are too late and the ritual is starting. Calaca has now become a god. This fight is a good summary of the game. You have to use every power you have, even the chicken form to dodge his beam. He also has, in addition of the color shield, the multi-layered shield that adds more complexity to the fight, but after you learn his pattern, he will eventually go down. We did it. We defeated Calaca and we saved Lupita. Lupita? Lupita is dead, but we can save her using the power of multiple endings. Apparently, after defeating Calaca, we get a part of a luchador mask. This is the last part. We missed all of the others. So, we load a save right before we fight Calaca, and, using the mighty internet, we start collecting the fragments. Editing Tomo here. I have to tell you that gameplay Tomo finished the story in 5 hours. You know how much time he spent finding the fragments of the mask? 4 hours. The fragments are obtained by doing different challenges in different corners of the map. And they deserve to be called challenges. Anyway, just wanted to give you some reference about how difficult these are. Back to the video. First fragment is in the basement of our house back at the beginning of the game. You have to go to this corner in your chicken form and swap dimensions. A secret room will appear, where you have to get through a labyrinth and obtain the fragment. For the second one, we have to go back to the skeleton lever in the forest. Activate it and then fly from the top of the hill to the left. You will hit a piece of land and fall through a secret hole where the second fragment is located. Then, we have to go back to the Caverna del Pollo and complete 3 gauntlets. Don't worry, these gauntlets are easier than the last zone of the game. After completing the third one, you go through this door and take the third fragment. Now, do you remember when we went down the tree and saw all of the level again? We now have to go up the tree and see everything again. I love this level's design. We arrive at the treetops, and I can confidently say that this is the hardest part of the game. A very long jumping puzzle that uses all of the abilities that we have, and this is where Dimension Swap truly shines. You have to make your way up while swapping dimensions, but you have to swap in mid-air, otherwise the platform where we stand will disappear. The good thing is that you have checkpoints. In some parts, you even have to fly while spamming Dimension Swap. These kind of levels are, in my opinion, what makes the difference between a 9 out of 10 and a 10 out of 10 Metroidvania. The special thing about these levels is that, despite the crazy difficulty, once you complete them, the feeling of satisfaction that you go through cannot be described in words. This level took me 30 minutes of non-stop attempts, and I do not regret even a second. We get the fourth fragment and proceed to the next one. Fragment number 5 is located in Sierra Morena and you have to fly through this gap. Here you have to get through 3 jumping puzzles, but the platforms disappear. I can't tell you if this is hard or easy. I have a pretty good short-term memory, so I completed this in 3 minutes. Get through the door and you will find the 5th fragment. Now, the final fragment was the real grind. You have to go to El Inferno and get 10 gold medals at these challenges. This was brutal, even though I got gold really fast at the jumping puzzle challenges, which were really fun and creative. The problem came at the fighting challenges. Let me tell you some of the restrictions. Defeat the enemies without the use of throws, without dodging. Get the highest score, which you need 200. It's a lot. It was brutal. It passed sometimes since I did something so challenging. But after a long time, I did it, and we got to enter the Devil's office, where we see pictures of the past rulers of the dead. We talk to the devil, still in his chicken form, and he gives us the last mask fragment. The only thing left is to beat Kalaka, again, and take the last one. This is the end of this video, and while I make my conclusions, I will leave on the screen the credits of both the normal ending and the true ending for who wants to see them. This was Guacamelee, a Metroidvania that set the bar higher for me in terms of level design and use of mechanics for different purposes. The art was unique. The abilities were balanced, each had its own purpose thanks to the colored shields and blocks. The story was interesting and engaging enough for me to grow a little bit of hatred for Kalaka. I think this game has a lot of good stuff, but what it doesn't have is voice acting. I think that would have made the characters a little bit more impactful. Anyway, I'm glad I played this game and I will definitely play the sequel. I recommend you play this game for yourself, to experience the beautiful level design and fun gameplay these developers had to offer. My name is Tomo, and now I can say I played Guacamelee.